Today I'm going to be attempting an Iwagumi inspired 55-gallon low-tech tank. Now of course Iwagumi means rock formation, and this is going to be my take on it with no CO2, which is a little different. But to start, I've done some lava rocks in some bags just for the substrate and the height. The substrate that I am using will be aquarium sand, like typical aquarium sand, some aqua soil in the fluval stratum, which is not necessary. You can also do the Wallstad method, but for this particular tank, I have decided to go with fluval stratum, and as well as some leftover pool filter sand that I've got here. I am running two types of aquarium sands. I mean, it's not necessary. I just like the look of it. So as you can see, I've created the base layer of how I want the scape to look. I did, however, come across the challenge of my tank potentially not being big enough for all of the lava rocks that I put in. So what I ended up taking it out at the end. I also ended up breaking my stool in this video, so I don't show it here and I do edit it out because that was embarrassing. But yeah, just keep watching. So here I don't have a paintbrush, but I am fixing up how the sand looks, and you know, in those competition aquascapers, I've seen them do fix up the front layer. Typically the front layer is a lot thinner in terms of scale for tanks, but I did want to make sure where I put my Soishi stone, which is this big giant centerpiece, had to have a lot of support. So there's a couple hidden rocks underneath the substrate as well as some supporting pieces to make sure it doesn't fall directly on the glass. Here I'm using the rule of 2/3, which is a camera technique. I think it was first thought about from maybe Takashi Amano when he was doing his tanks and his love for photography. I myself also love videography, so the rule of 2/3 made a lot of sense to me. And the reason I wanted to go with Iwagumi today was because I have been really interested in watching those ADA videos and just seeing how nature takes its course. A lot of my other tanks are jungle styled, so I do have a lot of Vallisneria, a lot of giant pieces. But the thing I've noticed about Iwagumi is that it takes a long time to figure out what kind of rock formation you want. You can look at all the photos of mountains as you can, but it's nothing quite the same as, you know, staring at the tank over and over again and trying to get the right formation. At this point, I think I've got it somewhat down pat. I don't like the right side as much, but I think I do change that later in the video. And then here I am putting in the aqua soil to where I want my dwarf sag to carpet. I went for the middle section first just because I wanted to look like a gateway passage. I obviously don't put fluval stratum all over the tank. And my biggest regret is actually not buying enough sand to fully cap the fluval. The end result isn't the ugliest thing in the world, but rather I have actually grown to like it a little bit. I think once the Vallisneria that I put in here grows to the back, it will be nice. So I put giant val, Hygrophila coriambosa, and as well as some dwarf sag. And I do put some hornwort later in just for some extra beneficial bacteria. It's important to spray the aqua soil while you're doing this so that it doesn't dry out. I didn't film myself spraying it, but I did do that. I am in so much shock. I had no idea there was this much Vallisneria in my tank. So I just went ahead and planted, and there is a ridiculous amount, even from my 10-gallon. Let me just show you here real quick. Just look at the sheer volume of the Vallisneria. And this is after a little trim where you can actually barely see how much I took out. So my lights are off right now, but look, I barely took off any of the Vallisneria, and as you can see, there's still so much more. Instead of canister filters, I actually opted in for sponge filters I did put two different types in. So I put a dual sponge on the left side, just for a little bit of surface agitation, so it looks a little calmer and it looks really nice from the output. And then my main filter is actually this giant sponge filter. Both of these have been pre-seeded from my other tanks, and I do talk about that later in the video. I'm not too fussy on aesthetics in terms of sponge filters, but some people are. So what I've done here is I've squeezed my sponge filters from my other tanks, and this is all the beneficial bacteria in there, and I'm gonna dump it in here so then it's immediately cycled. Is that this sponge filter and this sponge filter have been seeding in my other tanks for about 2 to 3 weeks now, so they've had a bit of time to produce those bacterias. But by squeezing the sponge from my other tanks, that also means that this cut the cycling process by like half. So we are so close. So this is what I've come up with. So now, and it's like 10:20 p.m. It's like 10:30 right now. So this is all tap water right now. So I'm gonna hit it with some tap water conditioner, some prime, and a big trusty bottle of stability. So we are finally done with the scape, as you can see right behind me. She looks amazing. I love it. I think I took the idea of the IWAGUMI landscape and sort of just put my own twist to it, right? It is a low tech, so there's absolutely no CO2, so I wanted to go with fast growing plants that didn't require such a thing. The biggest challenge that this tank is gonna have is the giant window over here. So I don't plan to put too much light on this one, but either way it will be enough light for, of course, the valve to grow and create that foresty vibe. And hopefully this sag comes in, so yeah. If you enjoyed that video, please go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. I want to know what you think of the tank. I did it in about 4 or 5 hours. And the longest thing, honestly, was actually just putting water in the tank. I've been playing around with this scape for quite some time. I've got multiple photos on my phone of me in the backyard just going through kind of what I wanted it to look like. So I'm really glad that it turned out different to what I had. I mean, of course I had this big rock as the main centerpiece. And this section here was a little different to what I had in mind, but it turned out great.